Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we'll be practicing API design for a very common problem, which is the Ticketmaster. In case if you guys don't know, I'm practicing using HelloPy.ai. This bot is specifically tuned for system design questions. So let's get started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through two sections over here. One is the requirement and the other is the API design. As we go, I will try to explain my thought process as well, and then we'll see how the bot performs, and we'll keep answering questions as we go and see where the conversation heads in the end. So the bot says, to start, can you identify the functional and non-functional requirements for such a system? So let's clarify a little bit. Like Ticketmaster is a huge system. You can have creation of events, editing of events, and viewing of events. So let's try to ask the bot, what should we focus on? That way we can scope down the problem. Okay, so the focus of the system is not on creating or editing events. Instead, it is on viewing specific events, searching for events, and booking events. Okay, so I think those are kind of our functional requirements. So I do have a question over here where we are booking tickets. I want to know, are we booking tickets for specific seats or are we booking tickets for the entire event? So let's ask that to the bot. Okay, so it does say the booking functionality should allow users to book tickets for specific seats. Okay, sounds good. So now for the non-functional requirements, we need to know the scale of the system. Okay, so my question was, what is the scale of the system? How many concurrent users are booking the tickets and how many are viewing the events? So the system says blah, blah, blah. Well, not all users will be. So it needs about 5 million users per day. While not all the users will be booking the tickets. The system should be designed to handle a significant... Okay, so if that's the case, then I think few requirements will be... These are the three that I can think of. We need high availability, high reliability so that the events page can be viewed anytime. At the same time, we need strong consistency, at least for the booking process, so that two users cannot book at the same time. So let's see what it says. High availability and strong consistency. Okay, so it also needs 500 milliseconds and avoid double booking. Okay, so now we have moved to the next section, which is the API design. We have the requirements complete over here. So going to the API design, we can see the first question is to design the API for viewing specific events. So usually when I design any kind of API, I try to make it more resource-oriented APIs. I will leave a link in the description below where you can find more details about this kind of API design. It's a very common methodology that you can see that is used by Google especially. They have a huge documentation on it, and you can also see it in their own APIs, how they structure it. So with that being said, so let's start. So this would be for me, this would be a get endpoint. It's a pretty straightforward endpoint. So I'm just going to make it get specific events ID. The path would essentially be events / event _ID. And I don't think we would need any parameters since we are already passing in the event ID. There is no body since this is get. For the response body, I think we would have event details, like event Maybe this is something that we can ask the bot. Should I response? So let's see what it comes back with, and maybe we can add those. Performers, time, venue, so description, etc. We'll add other details like venue and performers. The error codes, I think, would be 404 in this case. I don't think there would be anything else. Authentication, I'm thinking I'll keep it open. Usually when you go to Ticketmaster.com, you can actually browse for tickets or for events, and you can look all those details without actually logging in. I think that's the best way to go. So we can so just so you guys know, like this is kind of like a pseudocode that I'm writing as opposed to like a structured API or anything. So I'm going to submit the design now and see what comes back from the bot. Okay, so your API design looks good at high level. Can you provide more details about response structure, such as data types and whether fields are optional or mandatory? I think like we can add this one. Most of them will be strings, so we'll just add all those details. Okay, and menu ID. Yeah, I don't know. I think this would be double float. Okay, so it asked me a question. Why do you think keeping this API public and open is a good choice? Can you discuss any trade-offs? So that's a good question. Let me write it down. So my entire thinking was that the API should be public because since there's no booking required, I think we can keep it open. It helps with SEO, it helps with discoverability so that users don't have to log in. It makes it very easy for someone to see and get them interested in the event. If there's login, there's one more friction point. So I think it helps with user acquisition channels. On the other hand, what are the other trade-offs? So I think the site becomes kind of open to everyone. So you can have bots that can completely hammer it down. But I think we can use, since these pages are static, we can generate them in build time. There are frameworks out there which will generate static pages and load them up, and CDN can handle that. So I think I'm gonna write that out. So I did realize one thing while I was typing, that we can generate static pages for most part of the events, but ticket availability is something that we cannot actually. So it will have to be runtime. Although, let me actually answer this and see what the bot says. Does it pick it up? Does it not pick it up? Okay, so it didn't actually quite pick that up. So let's move on to the next one, which is, can you design the API for searching events? So for searching of the events, I think one of the key things is filters. I don't know if we need pagination, so maybe that is a question that I might ask the bot. So if we need pagination, then we'll also have limit and the start point, so that the bot can know when to, so that our API can respond and fetch that many events which meet the criteria of the search. Okay, so it does want pagination. So let's go ahead with that. So this would be a get endpoint. So as you can see, like over here, I have query, which would be just a search query. We'll have a bunch of filters. This could be performers, or it could all be part of query as well. But this could be static filters that you have in dropdown. It could all be in an array where each would be a string, like performers equals blah or something like that. So something like performers equals so it could be, so we could have filters. The filters could be just strings separated by comma and equals. Location equals Seattle. Performance equals Metallica, and then this might be the filters. Or we could have individual one as like at location equals location underscore filter as Seattle, performance underscore filter at Seattle equals Metallica. Either way, I think works. We'll have to, of course, pass this out on our end. And limit and start will provide us as pagination. The response would be same as previous. I don't want to change that. I keep it just that we have an array of events as opposed to just a single event. And I think even this API can be kept as open, although we can't really have this as a static page because we need to search. The search queries are runtime. So let's see if it catches that question. How will the limit and start parameters work to implement pagination? So limit will limit the number of items that we are getting, and we'll have to also provide the current cursor. I think that's what it's getting to. Like, we need to provide the current cursor so that next time when it sends, the cursor can be the start position. Otherwise, the client will have to keep track of which page it is on, which also it could do. So it could always say that the start right now is 0. On the next search, when we send number 2, when we click on page number 2, it essentially fetches from 11 because the first page it showed was 11. And similarly, like when you skip and let's say you go to page number 5, it knows that you skipped 5 and the limit was 10, so 5 times 10, so 50, so it'll start from 51. So it could be either a client logic or it could be server logic where you can send those cursors. I think I'll leave it to client for now. That way it keeps our API simple, but let's see if the bot agrees on that. Okay, so it is asking me how will the limit and start parameters work to implement pagination in your API. Now that I think about it, like I think we'll have to provide a number of pages. So right now we are just providing an array of different events. What we could do is, I think what we'll have to do is we'll have to give, if it's limit of 10, we'll have to ask for a page size. So now it's asking me how will the limit and the start parameters work to implement pagination in your API. One thing I did realize that I missed out is giving the page number and the total number of pages which are available for that particular search query. So over here, like the client has no idea how many objects are actually there. So when it needs to render the page, it has absolutely no idea how many pages it needs to show. There's something similar to we see in Google where you see 1, 2, 3, 4. So one thing that we do need to show over here, or maybe I'll just respond in the chat because I don't know how I can do both of those together. And the way limit and start would work is essentially start is where the next result would be. So if I say start from 0, then I'm getting results from 0 to 9 because my limit is 10 for each page. If I change and say my limit is now 20, but I want from 11, so my next result would include 11 to 20, 11 to 30, with the start being 11. Okay, so that's a good question. So when, let's say, if the total number of pages I have are 10, and if I have 10 items per page, which means I have 100, and it sends an offset of 101, I could do one of two things. Either I could respond with 400 bad error, or I could just respond an empty array. I don't have a strong opinion either way, so I'm going to just respond that. I don't think there are particularly any trade-offs, so I'm just going to respond to it. the user experience implications of returning a 400 error versus an empty array. So the user would see an empty array, but either way we could show no search results and handle it on the client. I actually think like 400 might be better because it's a bad request. The total number of items have been given, so the start number should never exist. So So for this, I would answer essentially saying that if the request is bad, then in general our API should be consistent and should return bad request, so that the client can actually retry or client can log errors on their end. Right now we are assuming that the only client is UI, but it could be a mobile app, or it could be an API, or it could be a service. So providing 400 is a better way. That way the client actually knows there is an error. So now it wants us to design a booking ticket. So for booking tickets, I think you will need a logged in user. Once we have a logged in user, we'll also need ticket information. So I'm assuming there is a ticket ID. So each seat will have a ticket ID associated with it. And I'm assuming like when the user selects the seat, we get like a seat ID or a reference to the ticket ID with it. I don't know which part of booking API it's saying. I don't know if we are handling payment. Let me ask that. Okay, so if we just have to do that, then we'll just send the tickets. The user's information is present in the token, so I wouldn't send the user ID. The ticket ID itself, I feel, would hold up the details of the event and the venue as well. So this would be... Okay, so let's start with the new API for this. So over here, the method name, I think this would be a post, and it would be okay. So here is my booking tickets API. I have post. events, event ID, book, and the body would just have the ticket ID as we spoke. The response, I'm assuming, would be a 302, and we would provide the payments page, like it will redirect to payments page with the information that it needs. We'll have 401, 403, and 400. So in case if you're unauthorized or forbidden, if certain events are forbidden, for example, or maybe your account is delinquent and that's why they are not letting you book tickets for whatever reason. And we'll just use OAuth for our user token for now for authentication. Okay. What additional details, if any, should we include in the response when redirecting to the payments page? So I think for the payments page, I think we What additional details, if any, should be included in the response when redirect? I personally don't think there would be any details in the payments page because the location that would be provided where the redirect would happen, I'm assuming it would have some sort of token in it which would provide the payments provider all the details it needs. So I'm going to write that information. I think it's asking for that. So I'm going to provide that additional context. Okay, I think I'm assuming this means that the interview has been completed. If you guys enjoyed this video, please let us know. We are going to create some more of these. We have found the bot to be fairly challenging at times. API is actually one of the easiest areas or easiest sections where the bot ask too many hard questions. But until then, thank you so much for watching our video and please do subscribe to our channel.